Breaking: Alejandro Garnacho, keen on joining Chelsea this summer as priority. Chelsea are considering to bid for Garnacho later this month, seen as opportunity as out-of-United project. And the player's keen on the move. Chelsea was his priority in January, while he still wants the Blues now. Despite approaches from Bundesliga, Saudi, and also Serie A, Garnacho wants to stay in Premier League. Up to Chelsea decision now, with deal depending on financial valuation made by Man United for Garnacho. Chelsea sent message by Manchester United over Alejandro Garnacho transfer. Chelsea remain in the running to sign Alejandro Garnacho from Manchester United. Manchester United have ruled out the possibility of a swap deal with Chelsea involving Alejandro Garnacho and Nicholas Jackson, according to reports. United are in the market to sign a new striker before the end of transfer window and have now made RB Leipzig's Benjamin Sesko their top target. Jackson, who has scored 30 goals in 81 appearances for Chelsea since his £32 million move from Villarreal 2 years ago, has also been conned by United. Chelsea, meanwhile, have retained their interest in signing Garnacho after making an approach in the January transfer window. A potential swap deal involving Jackson and Garnacho has been raised this summer, however. The Telegraph report that United insiders are discounting a move for the Chelsea striker. Chelsea are said to be demanding at least £80 million for Jackson, a valuation which you believe is excessive. Manchester United consider Chelsea's valuation of Nicholson as excessive. Garnacho, meanwhile, wants to leave United but keen to remain in the Premier League and join a Champions League club. The Argentina international, who fell out with Ruben Amorim at the end of last season, has been left out of United's preseason tour of the United States. But despite his omission from the first-team squad this summer, Amorim claims there could be a way back for Garnacho at United if he is not sold. "We are just allowing these players time to think and to decide," Amorim said last week. "If they reach a point where they have to join the team, they will join the team because they are our players. I know for a fact Omar Barada and Jason Wilcox and the club have a number for these players. If they don't reach that, they will be Manchester United players. No doubts about that. I understand the club are maybe waiting for the last minute, but they can have a surprise, and I am ready. I am ready to receive the players. They have more competition. If they want to play in the World Cup, they need to play. So I'm really happy with that because I will have more options. If they have to fight each other to play for me, that is perfect." Liverpool can sign Alexander Isak for bargain price with cunning transfer plan. Liverpool are still trying to bring Alexander Isak to Anfield this summer. Liverpool could sign Alexander Isak for a relative bargain if they adopt a brave new approach in negotiations with Newcastle. The Reds are still eager to land Isak despite improving their goal threat with the recent signing of Hugo Ekitike. Arne Slot reportedly wants both players in his squad as they go in search of back-to-back Premier League titles. Isak is desperate to leave Newcastle, despite the Swedish forward having 3 years left on his current deal. He has not traveled with the Magpies squad for their preseason trip to Asia, and is reportedly using Real Sociedad's facilities to train. Even though his situation remains up in the air, Liverpool are thought to be making progress behind the scenes. It has been reported that Isak has already agreed personal terms with the Reds, who are prepared to make him one of their highest earners. However, there has been no breakthrough at club level with a transfer fee yet to be decided. Newcastle are set to value their man at a whopping £150 million, meaning Liverpool would need to smash the British transfer record to secure a move. That is unless they can drive down Isak's asking price by tabling a unique new proposal. They could throw in not one but two of their players in a part exchange deal that would see Isak move the other way. Darwin Núñez would be surplus to requirements if Liverpool get their man, making him an obvious choice to be included. Liverpool are yet to find a breakthrough in talks with the Magpies. Núñez has already been tipped to depart Anfield this summer, and a move to Tyneside could benefit all parties. Playing for a club with lower expectations than Liverpool could be just what the Uruguayan needs to reignite his goal-scoring form. It would also give Newcastle an immediate replacement for Isak, which could be tempting given their struggles in the transfer market so far this summer. Liverpool could also decide to include Harvey Elliott in an effort to sweeten the deal. The young midfielder is known to be angling for regular game time, and would enjoy a new lease of life at Newcastle, who could reap the rewards of his attacking talents. Elliott would also bring a high resale value, potentially allowing the Magpies to make a big profit further down the line. Liverpool could throw in a bonus by not including a sell-on clause, meaning every penny from a future sale would go to Newcastle. It remains to be seen if this would be enough to convince Newcastle to part ways with Isak, but Liverpool have nothing to lose from taking a different approach, seeing as their original plan has not worked. Alternatively, the Reds could simply bide their time in the hope that Isak's discontent will lead to Newcastle reducing their demands. Only time will tell where the striker will be playing his football when the Premier League returns later this month. His future appears to depend on whether Liverpool can finally tempt Newcastle into cashing in. Liverpool told the lowest fee Newcastle would accept for Alexander Isak as transfer is happening. Newcastle United striker Alexander Isak is linked with Liverpool. Liverpool have been told the lowest fee that Newcastle United could accept for Alexander Isak by a football finance expert. The Reds have been very active in the summer transfer market already with 4 big-name arrivals in Florian Wirtz, Jeremy Frimpong, Milos Kerkez, and Hugo Ekitike. But Liverpool are unlikely to be done there with rumors that they could buy a new centre-back and look to get a British transfer record deal over the line for Newcastle striker Isak. The Swede has only recently been a potential realistic option over the last week after widespread reports revealed that he has told Newcastle he wants to leave St. James's Park. Liverpool are now biding their time before making their first official offer, with transfer expert Fabrizio Romano revealing earlier this week that he reckons a deal is now 60% on. Romano told DAZN Football, for Alexander Isak, in terms of percentage for Liverpool, it's at 60%. It's quite optimistic, but there is still work to do. 40% to go before we can say Isak is going to be a Liverpool player. But Liverpool have all the intentions to go strong for this deal. Liverpool already made contact with Newcastle 2 weeks ago. Liverpool are prepared to make a Premier League record-breaking bid for the 25-year-old, but are waiting for Newcastle to give the green light. And now finance expert Stefan Borson insists that Newcastle should now be insisting for their £150 million valuation, or at the very least £130 million plus £20 million in add-ons. Borson told Football Insider, I think the Isak deal is about him going to Liverpool. If we're being honest, I think that the only real question is whether Liverpool are prepared to pay £150 million and then whether Newcastle are prepared to bite the bullet and sell him. I can't believe Newcastle would sell him for less than £140 million plus some add-ons. Why would you sell him for less than £140 million when you've got a situation like this? If I was Newcastle, I would hold my position on it. I definitely wouldn't be selling for £120 million. Maybe £130 million plus £20 million. Maybe do that deal. But I just don't see him going to Al Hilal. I don't think the player would go at 25 to Saudi Arabia, and I think it's unlikely that Newcastle would want to do that deal because of all the financial fair play implications that it has. So it's just not a good deal. Now, that being said, I don't think they want to do the Liverpool deal either, but if the money's right and the player is adamant he wants to go, I can see it just about happening, and it's Liverpool clearly going for it. Marc Guehi transfer latest as Liverpool timeline laid out amid new Crystal Palace decision. Liverpool are still seeking a new centre-back, with Marc Guehi a target, and the Crystal Palace captain situation is being monitored amid the possibility of a summer transfer. Marc Guehi in action for Crystal Palace in a pre-season friendly against FSV Mainz 05. Liverpool will be keeping a close eye on Marc Guehi's progress in the coming weeks, with a potential summer transfer still on the cards. The Crystal Palace captain's contract is set to expire in less than 12 months, which could pave the way for a deal either immediately or further down the line. While much attention has been given to Alexander Isak due to the striker's desire to depart Newcastle United, Liverpool is also on the hunt for a new central defender. If both signings come to fruition, the club's spending in the summer of 2025 could reach around the $600 million mark. However, when it comes to Guehi, there's no rush as there's no sign he'll renew his contract at Selhurst Park. He could potentially be available on a free transfer next summer. With just a month left of the summer transfer window, Palace might decide to seize this last chance opportunity to make some money, even if it means losing their skipper. The England defender will also be weighing up what's best for him, especially with the World Cup just a year away. There's plenty of uncertainty at Selhurst Park that could sway the defender's decision. One of the major stories this summer has been Palace's dispute with UEFA, European football's governing body, over their right to participate in next season's Europa League. Liverpool transfer target Marc Guehi, Oliver Glasner's squad, secured their chance to compete when they clinched the FA Cup in May. But UEFA has since accused them of violating multi-club ownership rules due to a minority owner's connection with French club Lyon. Consequently, they may be relegated to the Europa Conference League. However, Palace have not taken this decision lying down and have lodged an appeal with the Court of Arbitration for Sport. Their verdict is expected on Monday, August 11th. Liverpool target. Guehi, along with any other players rumored to be leaving Palace, might be waiting for this new ruling before revealing their plans. The opportunity to shine in a more prestigious competition could give English players an advantage when Thomas Tuchel selects his national team squad. Debut player, preparing for the upcoming season. Interestingly, the season kicks off on Sunday, August 10th at Wembley Stadium, where Liverpool and Palace will face off in the Community Shield game. Glasner confirmed that his captain missed their weekend friendly against Crawley Town due to injury, but this turned out to be a minor issue as the German manager chose to include Guehi in another friendly on Tuesday. Palace played an unusual double-header against FSV Mainz 05, with each game lasting just an hour. Glasner had two squads ready for both games, and Guehi playing in the second match, which Palace lost 3-2. Alexander Isak reportedly missing from Newcastle training ground. Alexander Isak's fallout with Newcastle United has taken another shocking turn as it's been reported that the striker is missing from the club's training ground. Eddie Howe's men qualified for the Champions League last season and are preparing for their campaign in Europe's top competition, but are without their star striker, who appears to have gone AWOL, with new details recently coming to light. The Magpies signed Isak from Real Sociedad in 2022, and he's been a hit at St. James's Park. The Swede has scored 62 goals in 109 appearances for Newcastle across all competitions, and is the most prolific forward to represent their club since Alan Shearer. His form didn't go unnoticed, though, and earlier this summer, Liverpool came calling. The club rejected any approach for Isak, and the Reds have since signed Hugo Ekitike. While Newcastle fans will have been hopeful that his arrival would ensure they'd keep hold of their striker, he's since revealed his desire to leave the club. He was left out of their 3-2 preseason loss to Arsenal at the weekend, and he is now absent from the training ground as he tries to force his exit. Shocking new details have emerged. Isak is absent without leave. He's trying to force his exit to Liverpool. While Liverpool may have signed Ekitike for their front line, Arne Slot is still keen on adding Isak, and the striker has now AWOL from Newcastle's training ground, according to TBR Football. The striker recently withdrew from training due to a minor thigh injury, but has since disappeared altogether and told Howe that he will be conducting his own training away from the club's facilities. After Liverpool's approach from Isak was turned down, he requested a staggering £300, $000 a week new contract with the Magpies, and after that was turned down, he's decided he wants out of the club. It would be a huge loss for Newcastle, who have already missed out on several targets in the transfer window this summer. Isak scored 27 goals in all competitions last season for the club, and would be crucial to any success they achieve during the 2025-26 campaign. What Alexander Isak has actually been doing during Newcastle United absence as Liverpool prepare bid. Alexander Isak should be with the Newcastle United squad in South Korea right now, but is nowhere to be seen. Newcastle United's world was rocked when it emerged. Alexander Isak was not traveling to Asia due to a thigh problem. Things then got even more severe when it transpired that Isak wants to leave Newcastle. The 25-year-old has been the talk of the tune ever since, with Eddie Howe speaking about Isak's future upon arrival in South Korea. In the eyes of the Newcastle United manager, they are in control of the situation as he is under contract until 2028. Alexander Isak, training on his own as Newcastle United Tour Asia. As the Newcastle United squad work hard in Asia, Isak is working all by himself. That is according to transfer expert Graham Bailey, who has spoken to Geordie Boot Boys to provide an update on Isak's situation since opting against the preseason tour. Alexander Isak is at home, and Newcastle have not seen him since he left training last week, I am told, he said. Isak is undertaking his own training program at this point. What does that mean? Well, it's not ideal. But there is not much Newcastle can do with the main squad and coaches in Asia. Let's see how this plays out. What Liverpool are thinking as they prepare opening Alexander Isak bid. As Bailey says, there is not much Isak can do while Newcastle United are away. It will be interesting to see whether he returns to the Newcastle United training ground when the squad are back from their travels. In the meantime, Liverpool are getting set to make a bid with Jordi Boot. Boys understand that the Reds are prepared to pay more than £120 million to sign Isak, with sporting director Richard Hughes working on an offer that they think will be acceptable. He's Newcastle United. Value Isak at £150 million, which would be a British record transfer fee. There does not appear to be any other suitors for Isak. Al Hilal were linked, but Isak does not want to go to Saudi Arabia.